some simple exercises to release tension in your hips and in your lower back. I'm just going to show you some bits that I do most days. Hands and knees, nice wide hands, knees together. Drop your hips over from one side to the other. So you can see my arms are still quite straight. I'm not kind of leaning right down towards the ground. Exhaling to come up and over, tummy button to spine. That just protects your lower back. This is stretching right down into that IT band, getting a nice release into the hips here, up and over. So you just keep mobilizing, holding the stretch, maybe moving slightly back and forward. You can see I'm just sliding back and forward and finding any tight spots. If you come forward, it's slightly more into the hip flexors. If you're coming back, it's a little bit more into the glutes there. So you can just kind of stretch, especially if you get that pinchy soreness right in the butt cheek. This can be a nice one. Up and over to the other side. Good. And then with your knees staying together, just circling the pelvis around. So imagine a pebble has been dropped into a still lake, and it's that kind of little circles going bigger and bigger until as your hips get more kind of warmed up and lubricated, you can drop the hips right over to the sides. This is just a lovely unwinding of stiffness around the pelvis. Keep your shoulders nice and relaxed, elbows nice and relaxed. Fair bit of pressure through the wrist, which is a good thing. We want to have that weight bearing daily exercise. So one direction and then the other, unwinding. That's the way. And then knees directly underneath the pelvis, hands directly underneath the shoulders, starting off in that lovely elongated spine, tummy slightly drawn in towards spine, chin drawing in, and then let the tail lead your cat and cow. So lift the tail and then tuck the tail. And once you've got that rhythm with the lift and the tuck, then go ahead and let the ripple of movement go right up towards the crown of the head. Really getting that nice stretch through the shoulders as you exhale and round. And inhale to lift. Exhaling, angry cat. Inhaling to cow. Exhaling and inhaling. So you can do that for as long as you like. It's a lovely mobilization of the pelvis. And then the other one is just simply circling your tail behind you. Imagine you've got a lovely big tail and you're just circling it behind you, one direction and the other, especially for when we hold a lot of tension in our pelvises, and this can be a really, really nice thing just to release that tension. And then try taking your knees apart, toes together, slide down so that we start to stretch the inner thigh muscles slightly, and we also get a bit of lengthening stretch into those pelvic floor muscles. So if you had a bolster, you could just have it here and you could drape yourself over the bolster. But any kind of opening, stretching position like this can be wonderful to release and calm and just let go of pelvic tension. Okay, so I'm going to move from that now into a lunge. So one foot underneath the knee, like you're proposing, and then just mobilize the pelvis back and forward. So just like cat and cow, pubic bone forward, and then back again, so you're getting that lovely movement, and then stay with the pubic bone forward, tail tucked, slightly posteriorly rotated. So we have a deep stretch right down through the quads, hip flexors, hand on the outside of your other knee. Stretch those fingertips up, so knee down, fingers up, and then do a little tilt over to the side. So turn around so you can see me, little tilt over to the side. You can see this lovely big stretch that's happening right from the knee, up through the quads, the hips, into these obliques, breathing underneath the armpits, breathing into the back of the lungs. So that one, come back into neutral pelvis, toes go forward into a lunge, press the back foot into the ground. That's going to help stretch these quads and hip flexors here, and then maybe taking both hands up or just one hand up to come into a traditional lunge, shoulders away from ears, but rib cage lifting away from pelvis to lengthen out of the waist here and just give you a bit of openness into these quads that often become quite dominant and squeezed. Fabulous. So dropping down, knees again onto the ground just to release those hips. And And then the other side. So rotating the pelvis to start off with, getting into the stretch in those hip flexors, and then keeping the pelvis posteriorly rotated, so tucking and lifting the pubic bone. Keep the knee pressing down into the ground, hand on the outside of this knee, up with the other arm. So now taking a little tilt over towards the camera, stretching my right quads, right hip flexors, right hip, right side, breathing deeply underneath the armpits, so stretching the breath into those intercostal muscles between the ribs. Good, release the pelvis, inch those toes forward, press the back foot into the ground, and then coming into a lunge. Smooth breath, shoulders away from ears, lift the ribcage away from the pelvis, and then again, just drop yourself down, release the hips, and that's my knee. And they just feel so much better. So we just need to lubricate these guys. You know, motion is lotion, and we just don't want to get all stiff like a tin man. We want to make sure that the whole pelvic area, which is the center of our being, stays nice and mobile.